Medieval prison wasn't a place for rehabilitation. It was a shocking opposite, a human storage cellar designed for forgetting. The popular image of a rogue escaping a damp but manageable cell is a fantasy. For most, imprisonment was a slow, quiet descent into filth, starvation, and disease, a place where the sentence wasn't just time, but the systematic breakdown of your body and spirit. There was no trial date circled on a calendar, no concept of prisoners' rights. You were simply discarded, a social debt left to rot. Imagine the absolute darkness, a blackness so complete it felt heavy on your skin. Feel the constant, seeping dampness from stone walls that never knew sunlight, a chill that works its way into your bones and stays there. Listen to the rustling of rats, your constant companions, their boldness a measure of your own weakening state. This wasn't just confinement, it was a deliberate erasure from the world of the living. Compared to modern life, where light and sanitation are taken for granted, this was a return to something primal and terrifying. Before we descend into this world, please take a moment to subscribe and let me know in the comments where you are listening from tonight. It's a wonderful way for our community to connect across the globe. Now, find a comfortable space. Dim the lights, settle back, and let the sounds of your own world fade away. Let the gentle hum of a fan or the quiet of the room be your only anchor. Together, we will step back in time and experience what it truly meant to endure and survive. You wake up, but not all at once. It's a slow crawl back to consciousness, pulled from a shallow, dreamless sleep by a gnawing ache in your gut. There is no sound of birds, no gentle morning light. There is only darkness and the damp, heavy air that tastes of mold and human misery. Your first sensation is the cold. It's not a brisk, refreshing cold. It's a deep, penetrating cold that seems to emanate from the very stone beneath you. You are lying on a thin scattering of straw, much of which has been trampled into a sodden, foul-smelling mat. The stone floor leaches warmth from your body, leaving your limbs feeling stiff and heavy, like pieces of waterlogged wood. You try to shift, and a sharp pain shoots through your hip where it has been pressing against the unforgiving floor. You open your eyes, but it makes no difference. The darkness is absolute, a thick blanket that smothers all sight. You can't see your own hand in front of your face. For a moment, panic flutters in your chest, a wild bird beating against your ribs. You force it down. Panic is a luxury you cannot afford. It burns energy you do not have. Instead, you focus on your other senses. You can hear the slow, rhythmic drip of water somewhere nearby, a sound that has become the metronome of your existence. Drip, drip, drip. Each drop marks another moment survived in this forgotten place. You can also hear the soft, furtive scratching of rats in the walls, a constant reminder that you are not entirely alone. They are bold here, unafraid of the slow-moving human shapes that share their world. Your body's needs are simple and overwhelming. The hunger is a hollow ache that has become your constant companion. It's a dull, persistent pain that never truly leaves, only sharpens and fades in intensity. Your mouth is dry, your tongue thick and sticky. Thirst is a more immediate and demanding tyrant than hunger. You remember a small, slimy puddle in the corner of the cell, fed by the constant drip. You will have to crawl there soon. The thought of the gritty, foul-tasting water makes your stomach clench, but you know you must drink it to survive. You are a creature reduced to its most basic impulses. Find water, find food, stay warm. Nothing else matters in this suffocating blackness. You try to sit up, a simple act that requires immense effort. Your muscles protest, weak from disuse and lack of nourishment. Your joints crack and pop in the silence. As you move, the rough spun tunic you wear scrapes against your skin. It's stiff with grime and sweat, offering little comfort and even less warmth. You run a hand over your face, feeling the rough stubble on your cheeks and the matted, greasy tangle of your hair. You have no idea how long you've been here. Days? Weeks? Time has lost its meaning, measured only by the rare delivery of a stale crust of bread or a ladle of thin, watery gruel. The world outside this cell, the sun, the sky, the faces of other people, feels like a half-remembered dream. The air itself is a physical presence. It's thick with the stench of unwashed bodies, stale urine, and decay. You breathe it in slowly, trying not to gag. This is the smell of your life now. You have become accustomed to it, the way a wild animal grows used to the scent of its own den. Your world has shrunk to the dimensions of this small, stone box. You know every crack in the floor, every rough patch on the walls by touch alone. This is your universe, a microcosm of despair. You are aware of the silence, a heavy, oppressive quiet that is only broken by the dripping water and the rats. There are no other human sounds, no distant shouts or footsteps. It feels as if you are buried alive. You begin the slow, painful crawl toward the corner where the water pools. Your knees and hands scrape against the gritty floor. Each movement is a negotiation with your weakened body. The straw, thin as it is, rustles under your weight. You move by memory, your hands outstretched in the darkness, feeling your way along the cold, damp wall. The stone is slick with a thin layer of slime, and you try not to think about what it is. Your focus is singular, the water. It is the most precious thing in your world. The puddle is small, barely an inch deep, and the water is murky. You lower your head and drink, scooping the liquid into your mouth with cupped hands. It tastes of earth and stone, with a bitter, metallic tang. It does little to quench your thirst, but it is enough to wet your tongue and throat. As you drink, you hear a rustle nearby. You freeze, your head still low over the puddle. The sound is close, too close. It is not the familiar scratching of rats in the walls. This is something larger, moving in the straw just a few feet away. You hold your breath, every muscle tense. In the total darkness, your hearing is your only defense. You listen, trying to place the sound. Is it another prisoner? You haven't seen or heard anyone else since you were thrown in here. The silence returns, deeper than before. You wait, your heart pounding a slow, heavy rhythm against your ribs. The fear is cold and sharp, a stark contrast to the dull ache of your hunger. Here, any change is a potential threat. You remain motionless for what feels like an eternity. The only sound is the frantic beating of your own heart and the endless drip, drip, drip of the water. Slowly, cautiously, you begin to back away from the corner, moving with painstaking slowness. You don't want to startle whatever is in the darkness with you. Your hand touches something soft and lumpy in the straw. You flinch, pulling it back as if burned. You force yourself to reach out again, your fingers trembling. Your hand closes around a rough piece of fabric, and beneath it, something solid and still. It is a body. The realization hits you with the force of a physical blow. You are not alone. You have been sharing this cell with a corpse. The smell you had grown accustomed to suddenly takes on a new, horrifying dimension. It is not just the stench of filth. It is the sweet, cloying odor of decay. Your stomach heaves, and you fight back a wave of nausea. The water you just drank feels like poison in your gut. You scramble backward, away from the body, until your back hits the cold stone of the far wall. You sit there, breathing in ragged gasps, trying to process the discovery. How long has it been there? Was it a prisoner who died of starvation or disease or violence? You will never know. It is just another forgotten soul, left to rot in the darkness. The presence of the dead man changes everything. The cell no longer feels empty. It feels crowded, haunted. The darkness is no longer just an absence of light. It is a shroud concealing horrors. Your own mortality feels suddenly, terrifyingly close. You are no different from him. You are both just refused, discarded, and left to disappear. A profound sense of hopelessness washes over you, heavier and colder than the stone walls. You pull your knees to your chest, wrapping your arms around them, trying to make yourself as small as possible. You are trapped in a tomb, and you are not the first occupant. You stay like that for a long time, huddled against the wall, listening to the silence. The initial shock gives way to a grim, weary acceptance. This is your reality. Death is not an abstract concept here. It is a roommate. You wonder if the jailers even know he is in here. Or perhaps they simply don't care. Another mouth to feed, now silenced. It is one less burden for them. The thought is chilling in its simplicity. Your life has no value here. You are less than livestock. An animal would be cared for, its hide and meat of some worth. You are worth nothing. Slowly, a new feeling begins to surface, pushing through the despair. It is a stubborn, defiant spark of anger. You will not end up like him. You will not lie down in the straw and let the life seep out of you. You will fight. You will endure. The anger is a warmth in your chest, a small fire in the pervasive cold. It gives you strength. You don't know how you will survive, but you know you must. The first step is to put as much distance as possible between yourself and the body. You carefully feel your way to another corner of the cell, one far from the corpse and the water puddle. This will be your space. You sit with your back against the two walls, creating a small, defensible corner. You draw your legs up, conserving what little body heat you have. You focus on your breathing, making each breath slow and deliberate. You will not waste energy on fear or despair. You will save it for the long, slow battle ahead. The darkness remains, the cold persists, and the hunger still gnaws at your insides. But something has shifted within you. The discovery of the body was a shock, a confrontation with the grim reality of your situation. But it has also given you something you didn't have before, a purpose. Your purpose is simple. Do not become him. Survive. In the suffocating silence of your stone prison, you make a silent vow. You will live. The hours or perhaps minutes crawl by. There is no way to tell. Your world is an unchanging cycle of darkness and discomfort. Your mind, however, is now active. You begin to take stock of your situation with a newfound clarity. You are in a small stone cell. There is one door, heavy and solid, which you know from being thrown through it is made of thick wood and reinforced with iron. There are no windows, no cracks of light. Your only companions are the rats and the dead man. Your only resource is the foul water in the corner. You have no tools, no weapons, nothing but your own failing body and the stubborn will to live. Your stomach growls like a hungry wolf, reminding you of the pressing need for food. When will they bring it? Will they bring it at all? The uncertainty is a form of torture in itself. You can only wait, and as you wait, you listen. You strain your ears, trying to catch any sound from beyond your cell, a footstep, a distant voice, anything to prove that the world outside still exists. But there is only the drip, drip, drip of water, the endless, mocking heartbeat of your prison. Time passes in the suffocating darkness, measured only by the growing intensity of the ache in your belly. You have remained in your corner, a small island of grim determination in a sea of despair. The presence of the corpse on the other side of the cell is a constant, unspoken weight. You try not to think about it, focusing instead on the near unbearable anticipation of food. The hope is a fragile thing, easily crushed, yet you cling to it with a desperate strength. Without it, you have nothing. Then, a new sound cuts through the familiar rhythm of dripping water. It is a distant, heavy scraping. You lift your head, every fiber of your being focused on that sound. It is not the scuttling of rats. It is iron on stone. The sound grows louder, closer. A bolt is being drawn. Your heart begins to hammer against your ribs, a frantic, hopeful rhythm. This is it. They have not forgotten you. You are not buried alive. The sound is followed by the groan of a heavy wooden door swinging on rusty hinges. It is not your door, but one further down the corridor you imagine must exist. A sliver of hope ignites in your chest. They are making their rounds. Your turn will come. You listen with an intensity that is almost painful, tracking the sounds as they move closer. Another bolt, another groan of wood. A brief, muffled exchange of words you cannot make out. Then the slam of a door and the scraping of the bolt being shot home. You begin to crawl toward your own door, the rough stone biting into your knees and palms. You move with a slow, deliberate urgency, your body weak but your will strong. You do not want to be in the far corner when the door opens. You want to be ready to show that you are still alive, still waiting. The journey across the small cell feels like crossing a vast, treacherous landscape. You carefully navigate around the still form of your silent companion, giving it a wide berth. You do not want to touch it again. The smell of decay is stronger near the center of the cell, and you hold your breath as you pass, your stomach churning. Finally, your outstretched hand touches the rough, splintered wood of the door. You have made it. You press your ear against the cold wood, but you can hear nothing but the pounding of your own blood. You wait. The seconds stretch into what feels like an eternity. Did they pass you by? Have they finished their rounds and left you to starve for another cycle? The fragile hope in your chest begins to waver, threatening to extinguish. Then you hear it, the sound of footsteps, heavy and slow, stopping directly outside your cell. A key grates in a lock you didn't know was there. The sound is loud, jarring in the profound silence. This is it. This is your moment. You push yourself up into a sitting position, your back against the door, trying to summon what little strength you have left. A small slot at the bottom of the door, one you had never noticed in the darkness, scrapes open. It's a narrow opening, just wide enough to pass a small bowl through. A sliver of light from a flickering torch in the corridor cuts through the darkness, blinding you for a moment. You squint, your eyes watering, unaccustomed to any light at all. In that brief flash, you see the filthy floor, the damp stone walls, and the vague, lumpy shape in the far corner. Then the light is gone, blocked by the shape of a wooden bowl being pushed through the slot. It scrapes along the floor for a few inches and then stops. The slot slams shut, and the corridor is plunged back into darkness. The key turns in the lock, the footsteps recede, and you are once again alone. But you are not the same. Now you have a purpose. You have food. You reach out, your hands trembling with a mixture of weakness and excitement. Your fingers brush against the rough, uneven surface of the wooden bowl. It feels solid, real. You pull it closer, your hands cupping it as if it were a holy relic. You bring it to your nose and inhale. The smell is not appetizing. It is a thin, sour scent of old oats and not much else. But beneath that, there is the undeniable aroma of something cooked, something that promises sustenance. To you, it is the most wonderful smell in the world. You dip your fingers into the bowl. The contents are a lukewarm, watery gruel, with a few lumpy, unidentifiable solids floating in the thin liquid. There is no spoon, of course. You use your fingers, scooping up the thin porridge and bringing it to your mouth. The taste is as bland and uninspiring as the smell. It's gritty, as if sand has been mixed in, and has a slightly sour aftertaste. But it is food. It is energy. It is life. You eat slowly, methodically, not out of any sense of decorum, but because your shrunken stomach cannot handle much at once. Each mouthful is a small victory against the gnawing emptiness inside you. You lick the bowl clean, running your fingers over every inch of the rough wood to gather the last remnants of the gruel. You even lick your fingers, ensuring that not a single drop is wasted. When you are done, the bowl is as clean as you can make it. The hunger in your stomach has been replaced by a small, warm feeling of fullness. It is not satisfaction, not the pleasant feeling of a good meal, but it is enough. The sharp edges of your hunger have been blunted for now. You are left with a small wooden bowl. It is your only possession in the world, a tangible link to the world outside, a promise that they might feed you again. You hold the bowl in your lap, your fingers tracing its rough, carved surface. It feels strangely comforting in the darkness. It is a tool, a vessel, something you can use. You consider its potential. You could use it to catch the dripping water, providing a cleaner source than the slimy puddle on the floor. It is a small improvement, a tiny assertion of control over your environment, but it feels monumental. You are no longer just a passive victim of your circumstances. You are thinking, planning, surviving. The act of eating has done more than just fill your stomach. It has rekindled a part of your mind that had begun to grow dim. You crawl back to the corner where the water drips, taking your precious bowl with you. The journey seems easier this time, your limbs feeling slightly stronger, your mind clearer. You place the bowl directly under the drip, listening with satisfaction as the drops begin to land with a soft, hollow plink. One drop at a time, your bowl will fill with water. Water that has not touched the filthy floor. Water that is yours. This small act of ingenuity fills you with a sense of pride that is entirely out of proportion to the task itself. In this world of utter powerlessness, you have found a way to make a small difference in your own life. With your water supply arranged, you retreat to your chosen corner, the one farthest from the dead man. You sit with your back against the cold stone, the faint warmth of the gruel still radiating in your stomach. The darkness seems a little less oppressive now, the silence a little less menacing. You have faced the immediate threats to your survival. You have found water and you have eaten. You have confronted the reality of death and chosen to fight for life. You are still trapped, still cold, still surrounded by filth. Nothing about your situation has fundamentally changed. And yet, everything feels different. The meal was not just sustenance for your body, it was fuel for your spirit. It was a reminder that you are a living thing, with needs and the will to meet them. It has broken the monotonous cycle of waiting and despair. You have acted. You have solved a problem. You have taken a step, however small, toward your own survival. The feeling of fullness in your belly is a temporary comfort, but the feeling of agency, of having done something to help yourself, is a more lasting warmth. It settles in your chest, a quiet, steady flame against the cold. You are still hungry, of course. The meager portion of gruel was barely enough to take the edge off your starvation. But it was something. It was a promise that food exists and that it might come again. Now the waiting will be different. It will not be the passive, hopeless waiting of a man condemned. It will be the active, watchful waiting of a survivor. You will listen for the footsteps of the jailer, not with desperation, but with anticipation. You will conserve your energy, not out of weakness, but as a deliberate strategy. You run your tongue over your teeth, feeling the grit left behind by the gruel. You have no way to clean them, no way to wash your hands or face. The filth is a part of you now, but you are alive. The man in the corner is not. That is the only distinction that matters. You will hold on to that distinction with every ounce of your being. You will drink your carefully collected water. You will wait for your next meager meal. You will endure the cold, the darkness, and the stench. You will survive this place. You do not know how or what survival will even look like. But as you sit in the dark, clutching your empty wooden bowl, you know with a certainty that feels as solid as the stone around you, that you will not give up. The fire of your will, small as it may be, is enough to keep the darkness at bay. For now, the small warmth in your belly fades all too quickly, and the familiar gnawing hunger begins its slow return. You have been sitting in your corner, listening to the steady plink of water filling your wooden bowl. It is a comforting sound, a small measure of progress in a world defined by stagnation. You doze in short, fitful bursts, your body too uncomfortable and your mind too alert for deep sleep. The darkness is a constant, unchanging void, and you lose all sense of time. Has it been hours or a full day since your meal? You have no way to know. The waiting stretches on a long, thin thread of existence. Then the sound comes again, the heavy scrape of a bolt outside your cell. This time you are ready. You are not huddled in a far corner, lost in despair. You are sitting upright, your water bowl carefully placed beside you, your empty gruel bowl in your hands. You are a survivor, waiting for what comes next. The key grates in the lock, louder this time, and the heavy door groans open. It does not open wide, just enough for a man to step through. A figure stands silhouetted against the torchlight from the corridor. He is a large, hulking shape, and you can smell the stale sweat and sour ale on him even from across the cell. This is the jailer. He says nothing. He simply steps inside, his torch casting long, dancing shadows on the stone walls. The sudden light is a physical assault, and you raise a hand to shield your eyes, which feel as if they are being pierced by 1,000 needles. The jailer's eyes scan the small space, his gaze lingering for a moment on the corpse in the corner. He shows no surprise, no reaction at all. It is as if he is looking at a discarded sack of grain. His eyes then fall on you, and a low grunt escapes his lips. He gestures with the torch toward the open door. The message is clear. You are to come with him. Fear, cold and sharp, glances through you. Where is he taking you? Is this the end? Is he leading you to an executioner's block? Your mind races with terrible possibilities, but your body, weak as it is, responds to the command. You know that defiance is not an option. You place your empty bowl on the floor, a silent promise to yourself that you will return for it. Using the wall for support, you slowly, painfully pull yourself to your feet. Your legs tremble violently and used to bearing your weight. The room spins for a moment, and you have to brace yourself against the wall to keep from collapsing. The jailer watches you with an impatient disinterest. He makes no move to help. You take a shuffling, unsteady step, and then another. Each movement is a monumental effort. You are a newborn foal, learning to walk for the first time. You keep your eyes fixed on the sliver of open doorway, the torchlight a beacon in your dark world. As you pass the dead man, you avert your eyes, the smell of his decay thick in the air. You finally reach the doorway and stumble out into the corridor. It is a narrow passage, the stone walls slick with moisture, the air only slightly fresher than in your cell. The jailer pushes the door shut behind you, the sound echoing in the confined space. He then turns and prods you in the back with a thick, calloused finger. You are to walk. The corridor is short, leading to a larger, cavernous room. The ceiling is high, lost in shadow above the reach of the few torches that sputter in iron sconces on the walls. The air here is thick with the smell of sweat, sawdust, and something else, the metallic scent of despair. In the center of the room is a massive wooden wheel, mounted vertically on a thick axle. It looks like a giant's hamster wheel, a crude and intimidating piece of machinery. Several other men, gaunt and filthy figures much like yourself, are inside the wheel, their heads bowed, their bodies straining as they trudge in an endless, slow circle. Their feet, bare and bruised, slap against the worn wooden slats. They are the engine, and their work is to turn this great wheel. The jailer leads you to the device and points to an empty space between two of the trudging men. You understand. This is your work now. There are no words of instruction, no explanation of the machine's purpose. You are simply expected to get in and walk. The men inside don't look at you. Their eyes are glazed over, their faces slack with exhaustion. They are lost in the monotonous rhythm of their labor. You hesitate for a moment, the sheer size of the wheel intimidating you. The jailer's patience runs out. A heavy hand shoves you forward, and you stumble into the wheel, catching yourself on the wooden slats to keep from falling. The moment your weight is added, you feel the immense resistance of the machine. The wheel wants to be still, and it is your job to force it into motion. You place your hands on the slat in front of you and begin to walk, your feet finding the same rhythm as the other men. Step, step, step. The wood is rough and splintered under your bare feet. The effort is excruciating. Your legs, already weak, scream in protest. Your lungs burn as you gasp for air. It feels like walking up a steep hill that has no summit. The wheel creaks and groans with every slow, labored rotation, the sound a mournful song of pointless effort. You have no idea what the wheel is powering. Perhaps it is drawing water from a deep well, or grinding grain, or lifting heavy stones for some distant construction project. It doesn't matter. The purpose of your labor is irrelevant. The labor itself is all that exists. Your world shrinks to the few feet of wooden slats in front of you. Your only reality is the burning in your thighs, the sweat stinging your eyes, and the rhythmic groan of the machine. The man in front of you stumbles, his knees buckling. For a terrible moment, you think he is going to fall, which would create a chain reaction, bringing you all down in a tangle of broken limbs. But the man behind him places a hand on his back, a small, steadying gesture, and he finds his footing and continues his slow, agonizing walk. It is the first moment of humanity you have witnessed in this place. Time ceases to have meaning. There is only the endless cycle of steps. Your mind goes numb, the pain in your body a distant, roaring fire. You are no longer a man. You are a cog in a machine, a beast of burden turning a wheel that leads nowhere. The torchlight flickers, casting your elongated shadow on the wall, a grotesque puppet dancing to a silent, brutal rhythm. You focus on breathing. In, out. In, out. You match your breath to your steps. It is the only thing you can control. The monotony is a strange kind of mercy. It empties your mind of thought, of fear, of hope. There is only the work. At some point, a different jailer appears with a bucket of water and a single ladle. He walks alongside the wheel, offering a quick scoop of water to each man. You lean out, your throat raw with thirst, and he pours the lukewarm water into your mouth. Much of it splashes down your chin and onto your chest, but you manage to swallow a few precious mouthfuls. It is not enough to quench your thirst, but it is enough to keep you going. Then he is gone, and the work continues. You notice the other men. They are all shapes and sizes, all ages. Some are old, their bodies stooped and broken. Some are young, their faces still holding a trace of defiance that is being slowly ground away by the wheel. You are all the same now. Anonymous, interchangeable parts of a cruel machine. Your muscles burn like they are filled with hot coals. Every step is a fresh wave of agony. You feel a blister forming on the sole of your foot, but you cannot stop. To stop is to break the rhythm. To stop is to invite the wrath of the jailer. You see him watching from the shadows, his arms crossed over his massive chest. He is the overseer, the master of this small, hellish world. His presence is a constant, silent threat. So you keep walking. You put one foot in front of the other. You have entered a state beyond mere exhaustion, a place where the body continues to move long after the mind has given up. Then, without warning, a loud bell clangs somewhere in the chamber. The sound is jarring, shocking you out of your stupor. The men in the wheel slow their pace, and the great machine groans to a halt. The work is done for the day. Relief washes over you, so potent it almost brings you to your knees. You stumble out of the wheel, your legs trembling so badly you can barely stand. The jailer returns and begins herding you and the other prisoners back toward the corridor. There is no rest, no moment to recover. You are simply moved from one phase of your miserable existence to the next. He leads you not back to your cell, but to another door. He opens it, revealing a small chamber where a wooden trough is filled with the same watery gruel you had before. This is your reward. You are fed because you worked. The connection is simple, brutal, and clear. You work, you eat. You don't work, you starve. The prisoners crowd around the trough, pushing and shoving like animals. There are no bowls this time. You cup your hands and scoop the thin porridge directly from the trough, slurping it down as quickly as you can before someone else can push you out of the way. The gruel is cold now, and tastes even more sour than before. But it is food. You eat your fill, your hunger so desperate that you feel no shame, no disgust. This is what you have become. After the feeding, you are herded back to your cell. The jailer shoves you inside and slams the door, the sound of the bolt echoing your finality. You are plunged back into the familiar darkness. You collapse onto the straw, your body a symphony of aches and pains. Every muscle throbs, every joint feels like it is on fire. Your feet are raw and bleeding, but you are alive. You worked and you were fed. You have survived another cycle. You crawl to your corner, to your water bowl, which is now half full. You drink the cool, clean water, and it is the most delicious thing you have ever tasted. You have earned this. In the dark, you permit yourself a small, grim smile. You have found the rhythm of this place. It is a brutal, soul-crushing rhythm, but you understand it. And as you drift off into a sleep of pure, bone-deep exhaustion, you know that tomorrow you will do it all again. That is what it means to survive. You wake to the familiar chill of the stone and the dull ache in your muscles. The grueling labor of the previous day has left your body feeling battered and bruised, but you are alive. The first thing you do is reach for your water bowl. Your fingers find its rough edge in the darkness, and you lift it to your lips. It is nearly full. You take a small sip of the cool, clean water, a profound sense of satisfaction washing over you. This small act, this simple provision for yourself, feels like a victory. You have learned a rule of this place. Work is pain, but work brings food and the strength to continue. The knowledge gives you a sliver of control, a foundation to build your survival upon. The hunger is a constant presence, a hollow feeling in your core, but it is a manageable ache now. You know that food will come, as long as you can endure the wheel. You sit in your corner, listening to the silence, waiting for the day's brutal rhythm to begin. The corpse on the other side of the cell is still there, a silent, grim reminder of the stakes. You have become accustomed to its presence, its smell. It is a part of the landscape of your world, a landmark in the geography of your confinement. You are not like him. You are a worker. You are a survivor. The sound of the bolt being drawn is expected, but it still makes you tense. You prepare yourself for the summons to the great wheel. The door groans open, and the jailer's hulking silhouette fills the frame. But he does not call you out. Instead, he shoves another figure into the cell. The person stumbles and falls to the straw-covered floor with a pained grunt. Before you can process what is happening, the door slams shut, and the bolt scrapes home. The jailer's heavy footsteps recede down the corridor, leaving you in the darkness with a new presence. You are no longer alone. You freeze in your corner, every muscle tensed. Your small, ordered world has been thrown into chaos. This is not a silent, unmoving corpse. This is a living, breathing person. A potential threat. A rival for food, for water, for space. In the suffocating blackness, you listen. You can hear the newcomer's ragged breathing, punctuated by a low, wet cough. He is pushing himself up slowly, his movements weak and uncertain. You remain perfectly still, a predator sensing a new animal in its territory. Your hand instinctively finds your wooden water bowl, pulling it closer to you, shielding it with your body. It is your only resource, your only advantage. The newcomer gets to his feet, shuffling cautiously in the darkness. You can hear the rustle of the straw as he moves. Is he exploring the boundaries of the cell? Or is he moving toward you? Your heart pounds a slow, heavy rhythm in your chest. You strain your ears, trying to build a picture of him from sound alone. His breathing is shallow, his cough suggesting a sickness in his lungs. He sounds old, but old does not mean harmless. In a place like this, desperation can make any man dangerous. You are weak from starvation and labor. A determined attack, even from an old man, could be the end of you. He shuffles closer to your side of the cell. You can smell him now, the sour scent of unwashed skin and sickness, different from the smell of decay you have grown used to. He is very close now, just a few feet away. You press yourself harder into the corner, trying to make yourself smaller. Then he speaks. His voice is a dry, rasping whisper, like stones being scraped together. "Water," he says. It is not a question. It is a demand. Your grip tightens on your bowl. The water in it is yours. You collected it, drop by precious drop. It is the result of your foresight, your will to survive. Giving it away feels like giving up a piece of yourself. You do not answer. You remain silent, hoping he will think you are asleep or move on. But he does not. He takes another shuffling step closer. You can feel the slight movement of air as he nears. "I know you have it," he rasps. "I can hear the dripping. Give me the bowl." His voice holds a chilling certainty. He has been in a place like this before. He knows its sounds, its rhythms. He knows the value of a single bowl of clean water. Panic begins to rise in your throat, hot and suffocating. A direct confrontation seems inevitable. You are too weak to fight, but you cannot give up your water. You must think. A physical struggle would be disastrous. You would likely lose, and even if you won, you would expend precious energy you cannot afford to waste. You need another way. You clear your own throat, which is dry and rough from disuse. Your voice, when it comes, is a croak, but you force it to be steady. "There is a puddle," you say, your words loud in the silence. "In the other corner. We all drink from there." You are offering him a solution, but also a test. You are asserting that there is a common resource, that he has no claim on what is yours. You are establishing a boundary. The old man is silent for a long moment. You can hear his wheezing breaths in the darkness. You wait, your body coiled like a spring, ready for an attack that you know you will likely not survive. You imagine his gnarled hands reaching for you in the dark, his fingers closing around your throat. The silence stretches on, thick with unspoken threat. Then you hear him shuffle away. He moves toward the other corner, the one where the corpse lies, the one where the foul puddle collects on the floor. You hear him stoop, then the sound of slurping. He has accepted your terms. He has chosen the path of least resistance. A wave of relief so powerful it leaves you dizzy washes over you. You have survived your first social encounter. You did not use violence. You used your mind. You used the rules of this grim world to your advantage. You have established yourself not as a victim, but as a fellow survivor, one who knows the landscape and is prepared to defend his small territory. The old man finishes drinking from the puddle and shuffles to the wall opposite you, where he slides down into a sitting position. A silent truce has been declared. The cell is now divided into two territories, yours and his. For a long time, neither of you moves or speaks. You sit in your respective corners, listening to each other's breathing across the darkness. The dynamic of the cell has been permanently altered. You are now part of a community, albeit the smallest, most miserable community imaginable. You have a neighbor. You are responsible not only for your own survival, but for navigating the presence of another. It is an added layer of complexity, an added stress. But in a strange way, it is also a comfort. The crushing loneliness that had defined your existence is gone. The silence is no longer absolute. It is punctuated by another man's coughs, another man's sighs. Eventually, the sound of the jailer's approach breaks the quiet. The bolt scrapes, the door opens, and the summons comes. This time he calls for two. The old man rises with a groan, and you get to your feet, your muscles protesting. You shuffle out into the corridor together, blinking in the torchlight. You get your first proper look at your cellmate. He is just as you imagined, old, gaunt, with a stooped back and a hacking cough. But his eyes are sharp and intelligent, missing nothing. They are the eyes of a man who has endured much and learned from it. You are led to the great wheel. There are 2 empty spots today, side by side. You and the old man take your places. The work begins. You fall into the familiar, grueling rhythm, your body screaming in protest. Beside you, the old man walks with a slow, steady pace. He does not waste a single movement. His breathing is labored, but he never falters. He has the economy of motion of someone who has been doing this for a very long time. He is a professional sufferer. You watch him out of the corner of your eye, and you learn. You learn to pace yourself, to conserve your energy, to find the rhythm that will allow you to endure without breaking. During the brief water break, the jailer gives each of you a ladle. You drink yours greedily. The old man takes his, but instead of drinking it all, he saves a small mouthful. He swishes it around his teeth and spits it out onto the sawdust floor. It is a small act of hygiene, a small act of self-preservation. It is something you would never have thought to do. You realize that this old man, this rival, might also be a teacher. He possesses knowledge of this world that you do not. Staying alive here is a skill, and he is a master of the craft. The bell finally rings, signaling the end of the labor. You are herded to the feeding trough. You and the old man eat side by side, scooping the cold gruel with your hands. There is no camaraderie, no shared glance of relief. There is only the grim, animalistic focus on getting as much food into your belly as possible. Afterward, you are returned to your cell. The darkness envelopes you both. You go to your corner, and he goes to his. You can hear him settling in, his coughing fit echoing in the small space. The day is over. You have survived the wheel again. But more than that, you have survived a new challenge. You have navigated the complex currents of a social interaction where the wrong move could have meant death. You have learned that in this place, survival is not just about physical strength, but about cunning, about observation, about understanding the unspoken rules of a brutal society. As you drift into an exhausted sleep, you know that your life here has become infinitely more complicated, and perhaps just a little less lonely. The next cycle begins not with the familiar groan of the work wheel, but with a jarring break in the routine. You are woken by the sound of the cell door swinging open with unusual force. 2 jailers stand in the opening, their forms dark against the corridor's torchlight. They are carrying heavy iron chains. A cold knot of fear tightens in your stomach. This is different. This is not the slow grind of the wheel. This is something new, and in this place, anything new is a harbinger of pain. One of the jailers enters and grabs you by the arm, his grip like an iron vice. He hauls you to your feet, your muscles protesting in a familiar chorus of agony. The other jailer does the same to the old man, who offers no resistance, his body pliant and accepting. You are pushed toward the center of the cell, and the jailer forces you to the ground, chaining your right ankle with a heavy, rusted shackle. The iron is cold and rough against your skin. He then drags the old man next to you and locks the other end of the short chain to his left ankle. You are now bound together, 2 broken men linked by a few feet of iron. The jailers haul you both out of the cell and into the corridor. You are not alone. Other pairs of prisoners are being herded from their cells, all of them shackled in the same way. A long, shuffling line of human misery forms in the narrow passage. The guards move along the line, their movements efficient and brutal, shoving anyone who moves too slowly. There are no explanations, no orders beyond a series of guttural shouts. You are simply part of a grim procession, your fate now physically tied to the stranger beside you. The march begins. You are herded down corridors you have never seen before, each one as damp and dark as the last. The line of men moves with a clumsy, shuffling gait, the clinking and dragging of chains the only sound besides the guards' shouts and the prisoners' pained coughs. The chain around your ankle is a constant, awkward weight. You and the old man struggle to find a rhythm, to match your steps so that the chain does not pull tight and trip you both. It is a terrible, intimate dance. His weakness is your weakness. If he falls, you fall with him. After what feels like an eternity, the procession stops before a heavy, iron-barred gate. A guard draws a massive bolt, and the gate grinds open, revealing not another corridor, but a patch of gray, overcast sky. You are being taken outside. The thought is both exhilarating and terrifying. You stumble forward, pushed by the men behind you, and step out of the darkness. The open air is a shock to your system. It is cold and damp, carrying the scent of wet earth and distant wood smoke. It is the freshest, most wonderful thing you have ever smelled. You instinctively take a deep breath, and the cold air burns in your lungs, sending you into a fit of coughing. The light is overwhelming. It is not the direct glare of the sun, but the flat, unforgiving light of a cloudy day. It feels like a physical blow, and you squeeze your eyes shut, vision swimming with bright, painful spots. After so long in near total darkness, the world outside is a blinding assault. You stumble, your balance gone, but the old man beside you plants his feet, his body a frail but steady anchor. The sudden tension on the chain is all that keeps you from falling flat on your face. You open your eyes a crack, trying to adjust, and the world slowly comes into a blurry focus. You are in a large, muddy courtyard, surrounded by high stone walls topped with sharpened wooden stakes. The ground is a treacherous morass of mud and slick, uneven stones. Your bare feet sink into the cold, wet earth, the mud squishing between your toes. A fine, chilling drizzle begins to fall, plastering your thin tunic to your skin and sending a shiver through your weakened body. The guards show no sign of stopping. They herd the line of prisoners across the courtyard, their heavy boots splashing through the puddles. For them, this is just another day. For you, it is a perilous journey across a hostile landscape. Every step is a struggle. You must not only lift your own feet from the grasping mud, but also coordinate with the old man, whose hacking cough has worsened in the damp air. You can feel the tremors of his weakness traveling up the chain to your own leg. You find yourselves communicating without words, through the subtle push and pull of the chain. A slight tug to signal a large stone, a bit of slack to allow for a deep puddle. It is a clumsy, desperate form of cooperation, born entirely of necessity. You are a single, four-legged creature, struggling to navigate a world not made for it. Your survival depends on this fragile, unspoken partnership. The guards lead you toward another gate on the far side of the courtyard. Beyond it lies a narrow, rocky path that winds its way up a steep, muddy embankment. This is the true test. The path is barely wide enough for one man, let alone two chained together. The rocks are sharp and slick with rain. A single misstep could send you both tumbling down the embankment, to be met with the guards' boots and clubs. The line of prisoners slows, each pair hesitating before the treacherous ascent. The guards' shouts grow louder, more menacing. There is no turning back. It is your turn. The old man goes first, his gnarled hands grabbing at roots and rocks for support. You follow, your heart pounding. The chain pulls tight between you, a constant, dangerous tether. The old man's foot slips on a wet stone, and he lurches sideways. The chain yanks your leg out from under you, and you begin to fall. In a surge of adrenaline-fueled strength, you jam your hands into the mud, your fingers clawing for purchase. You stop your fall, your body scraping against the rocky path. The old man has managed to find his footing, and for a moment, you both just hang there, breathing in ragged gasps, the chain a taut line of iron between you. He looks back at you, his face a mask of grim determination. There is no pity in his eyes, but there is a flicker of something else, understanding. He knows that his life depends on you as much as yours depends on him. He gives a slight nod, a silent command. Up. You pull yourself back to your feet, your hands and knees scraped and bleeding. You find your rhythm again, a slow, painstaking ascent. He tests each foothold before putting his weight on it, and you follow in his exact steps. You move as one, your shared will to survive, overcoming the weakness of your individual bodies. Your muscles scream, your lungs burn, but you keep climbing. The world is reduced to the next handhold, the next secure spot for your foot. You finally reach the top of the embankment, collapsing onto the flat ground, your bodies heaving, covered in mud and blood. You have made it. You lie there for a precious few seconds, the rain washing the grime from your faces, before a guard's boot prods you back to your feet. The journey is not over. You are on a high path that runs along the top of the prison wall. From here, you can see the world outside. Patches of forest, rolling hills, a distant village with smoke curling from its chimneys. It is a vision of a life that is no longer yours, a world you can see but never touch. The sight is so beautiful and so painful it feels like a knife in your gut. You are marched along the wall to a section that has crumbled, where a team of prisoners is already at work. This is your destination. Your job is to move the heavy, fallen stones from one pile to another. It is mindless, back-breaking labor, no different in its futility from the great wheel. But here, there are new dangers. The stones are heavy and have sharp edges. A dropped rock could crush a foot. The crumbling wall itself is unstable, and the fall from this height would mean certain death. The guards unchain you from the old man, only to shackle you to a large iron ring set in the wall. You have a few feet of movement, enough to work, but not enough to escape. The work begins. You lift the heavy stones, your muscles straining, your back screaming in protest. The cold rain continues to fall, making the stones slippery and your grip uncertain. Beside you, the old man works with his usual grim efficiency, his movements slow but deliberate. You have been separated, but the experience on the path has changed something between you. You are no longer just two strangers forced to share a space. You are two men who have relied on each other to stay alive. A bond has been forged, not of friendship or affection, but of shared hardship. It is a thin, brittle thing, but in this world of relentless brutality, it is more than you had before. As you lift another stone, its sharp edges cutting into your raw hands, you know you are still a prisoner, still a slave. But you are no longer completely alone. The work on the wall is a relentless cycle of lifting and carrying. The stones are cold and heavy, their sharp edges digging into your already raw hands. The fine, persistent drizzle has soaked you to the bone, and a deep, unshakable chill has settled into your body. You move mechanically, your mind a numb landscape of misery. You focus on the simple task, the next stone, the next step. To think of anything more of the past or the future is a form of self-inflicted torture. There is only the now, and the now is this cold, wet stone in your hands. Beside you, the old man works with a grim, fading persistence. His movements have grown slower throughout the day, his breathing more ragged. The wet, hacking cough that has been his constant companion now comes in long, body-racking spasms that leave him breathless and trembling. Each fit of coughing seems to steal a little more of the life from him, leaving him paler and more stooped than before. You watch him from the corner of your eye, a cold feeling of dread coiling in your gut. You know with a grim certainty that he is not going to last. Weakness is a death sentence in this place. He stumbles as he tries to lift a particularly large stone. The rock slips from his grasp and thuds to the ground. The old man sways on his feet, his face a ghastly shade of gray in the flat light. One of the guards, a brutish man with a flat, indifferent face, barks an order at him. The old man tries to obey. He bends to retrieve the stone, but his body betrays him. His legs buckle, and he collapses to the muddy ground in a heap of wet rags and frail bones. He doesn't make a sound as he falls, just a soft sigh of escaping air. He lies still for a moment, and then a violent, rattling cough shakes his entire frame. The other prisoners on the wall stop their work, their eyes fixed on the fallen man. The guards are instantly alert, their annoyance palpable. A broken tool is a disruption to their routine. One of them walks over and prods the old man in the ribs with the butt of his spear. "Get up," he grunts, his voice devoid of any emotion. The old man does not respond. He is lost in another fit of coughing, a thin trickle of blood appearing at the corner of his mouth. He is drowning from the inside. You stand frozen, the heavy stone still in your hands, watching the grim little drama unfold. A part of you wants to help, to do something, but you know it is useless. More than useless, it is dangerous. The guard's attention is a thing to be avoided at all costs. The guard prods him again, harder this time. "I said get up." The old man lets out a low, pained moan but makes no move to rise. His body has reached its limit. The other guard joins the first, and they stand over the fallen prisoner, deliberating. They do not see a man in the throes of a medical crisis. They see an obstacle. They see a problem that needs to be solved with the least amount of effort. Their discussion is short and brutally practical. There is no talk of a healer, no mention of rest or care. There is only the cold calculus of utility. The man is broken. He can no longer work. Therefore, he is worthless. One of the guards unlocks the shackle that tethers the old man to the iron ring on the wall. The sound of the lock opening is loud and final in the quiet drizzle. He then grabs the old man by the collar of his tunic and begins to drag him away. The old man's body is limp, his bare feet leaving 2 parallel furrows in the mud. His head lolls to one side, his eyes half open and vacant. He is still breathing, his chest rising and falling in shallow, rattling gasps, but he is no longer conscious of the world. He is simply a piece of human refuse being cleared away. You watch until they disappear around a corner of the wall. You are powerless, a silent witness to a quiet, unremarkable death. There is no ceremony, no dignity. A man's life is ending as it was lived in this place, in filth, misery, and utter insignificance. The guard who remains shouts at the rest of you to get back to work. The moment of disruption is over. The machine must continue to grind. You turn back to your pile of stones, your hands trembling slightly. The space beside you is now empty. The cold seems to press in closer, the silence on the wall deeper. You pick up a stone, its weight feeling heavier than before. You carry it to the designated spot and place it on the wall. Then you turn and walk back for another. The rhythm of the work reclaims you, but your mind is not numb anymore. It is filled with the image of the old man being dragged through the mud. You had shared a cell with him. You had been chained to him. You had relied on him, and he on you, to survive the treacherous climb up the embankment. For a brief time, your fates had been intertwined. And now he is gone. The experience leaves you with a profound and chilling realization. The unspoken bond you had formed meant nothing to this place. Your fragile partnership was an illusion, a temporary arrangement of convenience that could be shattered in an instant. There is no community here. There is no loyalty. There is only a collection of individuals, each one clinging to his own desperate, solitary existence. To care for another is to invite pain. To rely on another is to build your house on sand. The only person you can count on is yourself. The lesson is as cold and hard as the stones you carry. The rain finally stops, but the gray, overcast sky remains, a oppressive lid on your world. The work continues for what feels like an eternity. Each stone you lift is a testament to your own fleeting strength. You know that one day, it could be you who stumbles. It could be your body that betrays you. It could be you who is dragged away, your life ending in a muddy furrow. The thought does not terrify you. It settles into your mind as a simple, undeniable fact. Life in this prison is a temporary condition, a slow march toward an inevitable end. The only question is how long you can keep walking. When the bell finally rings to signal the end of the day, the relief you feel is mixed with a deep, weary sadness. You are unchained from the wall and herded back down the treacherous path. You navigated alone this time, the journey easier without a chain, but your solitude feeling heavy and profound. You cross the muddy courtyard and are led back into the familiar darkness of the prison's corridors. You are given your portion of gruel at the common trough, which you eat with the same desperate hunger as always. But the food tastes like ash in your mouth. You are shoved back into your cell. The door slams shut, the bolt scrapes home, and you are alone. The silence is absolute. There is no coughing from the opposite corner. There is no sound of another person's breathing. There is only the drip, drip, drip of the water and the quiet, unseen presence of the corpse. The loneliness you had grown accustomed to has returned, but it is a sharper, more painful thing now. You had a companion, however brief, and his absence has left a void. The cell feels larger, colder, and infinitely more empty. You crawl to your corner and sit, your back against the cold stone. You have your bowl of collected water. You have the promise of another day of work and another meal. You have, by the brutal logic of this place, succeeded. You have outlasted another, but it does not feel like a victory. It feels like a loss. You think of the old man's small act of spitting out the last of his water to clean his mouth. A tiny spark of self-respect in a world designed to strip it all away. You think of his steadying presence on the chain as you stumbled. He taught you things not with words, but with his example. He taught you how to endure. And now his final lesson was how to die. You close your eyes, but the image of his vacant face being dragged through the mud is burned into your mind. As you drift into an uneasy sleep, you are more alone than you have ever been before. You wake up with the ghost of another man's cough in your ears. The cell is silent, a thick, heavy quiet that presses in on you. The empty space where the old man used to be feels like a wound. You perform your morning ritual in the darkness, checking your water bowl, which is once again full. The simple act of providing for yourself is the only thing that keeps the crushing despair at bay. You are a machine of survival, and this is your daily maintenance. You drink, you wait, you endure. The jailer comes, his footsteps echoing the familiar rhythm of your life. The door opens, the summons is issued, and you are led out into the gray morning. You are taken back to the crumbling section of the wall, your muscles screaming in protest at the mere memory of the work. The sky is a flat, oppressive sheet of white. There is no rain today, but the air is cold and bites at your exposed skin. You are chained to the iron ring, the cold metal a familiar weight on your ankle. The work begins again. The pile of stones seems endless, a mountain of misery that you are tasked with moving one piece at a time. Your body is a vessel of dull, persistent pain. Your hands are scraped raw, your back is a knot of agony, and your legs feel as heavy as the stones you carry. But you work. You fall into the mindless rhythm, the repetitive motion a shield against the thoughts that threaten to overwhelm you. You do not think of the old man. You do not think of the world outside. You think only of the next stone. A new jailer is on duty today. He is younger than the others, with a cruel, petulant face and restless eyes that are always scanning the line of prisoners. He carries a short, thick club of dark wood, which he taps rhythmically against his thigh. He is not like the other guards, who possess a kind of weary, indifferent brutality. This one seems to enjoy his power. He walks the line with a swagger, searching for any sign of weakness, any excuse to exercise his authority. You keep your head down, your eyes fixed on the stones. You make yourself as small and unnoticeable as possible. During the midday feeding, a ration of coarse, stale bread is distributed along with the usual watery gruel. It is a rare luxury, the most substantial food you have seen since your arrival. You take your piece with trembling hands, your mouth watering at the thought of it. It is hard as a rock, but it is bread. You decide not to eat it all at once. You will save a small piece, a morsel to get you through the rest of the grueling day. You tuck a thumb-sized chunk into a fold of your tunic, a secret treasure, and quickly devour the rest. The bread is dry and tasteless, but it fills your belly and gives you a small surge of much-needed energy. The work resumes. The afternoon wears on, a long, slow grind of lifting and carrying. The young jailer grows bored. The simple, monotonous brutality of the work is not enough to keep him entertained. He needs a spectacle. He begins to walk the line, his eyes searching for a target. He stops in front of a prisoner, a thin, skeletal man, and criticizes his work, his voice dripping with contempt. He makes the man lift a stone that is clearly too heavy for him. The prisoner struggles, his arms shaking, and inevitably drops it. The jailer's club flashes, and a sickening thud echoes across the wall. The prisoner cries out and crumples to the ground. The jailer laughs and moves on. A cold dread spreads through you. You are all just playthings for his amusement. You keep your head down, focusing on your work, trying to be invisible. But his eyes find you. He walks toward you, his boots crunching on the gravel. He stops directly in front of you, his shadow falling over you. You can smell the sweat and cheap wine on his breath. You freeze, your heart hammering in your chest. You do not look up. You stare at the muddy ground, at his heavy leather boots. You pray that he will just move on. What's that? he says, his voice deceptively soft. You don't know what he's talking about. You risk a quick glance up and see that he is pointing with his club at your tunic, at the small bulge where you have hidden your piece of bread. Your blood runs cold. It is such a small thing, a tiny, pathetic comfort. But in this place, any possession, any comfort, is a challenge to their absolute power. Show me, he commands. Slowly, with trembling fingers, you reach into your tunic and pull out the small, grubby chunk of bread. You hold it out on your open palm for him to see. He looks at the bread, then at you, a slow, cruel smile spreading across his face. He is not just going to take it. He is going to make you a part of your own humiliation. He leans in close, his voice a low whisper. You think you deserve extra, do you? You think you're better than the others. You shake your head, a small, desperate gesture. You want to tell him it's not extra, it's just saved. But you know that words are useless. The truth does not matter here. Only power matters. He plucks the bread from your palm and holds it up. He examines it with mock seriousness, as if it were a jewel. Then, with a deliberate theatrical motion, he throws it to the ground and grinds it into the mud with his boot. He twists his heel, ensuring the bread is completely destroyed, a paste of grime and crumbs. You watch, your stomach clenching, your one small treasure, your one tiny piece of hope for the afternoon, turned into dirt. A profound sense of injustice, hot and sharp, rises in you. It is so petty, so pointless, so utterly cruel. And then, you do something you have not done since you arrived. You look up. You lift your head and look him directly in the eyes. You do not glare. You do not show hatred or defiance. Your face is a blank mask of exhaustion and misery. But you do not look away. You simply hold his gaze. In the silent, wretched depths of your soul, a tiny, defiant spark has been lit. You are a man. You are not an animal to be tormented for sport. And in this small, powerless way, you let him know it. The change in him is instantaneous. The cruel smile vanishes from his face, replaced by a flash of pure, unadulterated rage. How dare you? How dare a piece of filth like you look him in the eye? It is the ultimate act of insubordination. He did not just want your bread. He wanted your submission. He wanted you to cower, to grovel, to accept his power without question. And you have denied him that. Your silent gaze is a greater insult than any curse. His club moves so fast you barely see it. The blow catches you on the side of your head. The world explodes in a flash of white-hot pain and light. You are thrown sideways, your head smacking against the hard stone wall. You slide to the ground, your ears ringing, your vision blurry. The taste of blood fills your mouth. Through a swimming haze of pain, you see him standing over you, his face contorted with fury. He kicks you hard in the ribs, once, twice. A sharp, cracking sensation tells you something has broken. You curl into a ball, trying to protect yourself, every breath a fresh wave of agony. He stands over you for a moment longer, breathing heavily, his rage spent. He has reasserted his dominance. He has put you back in your place. He gives you one last kick, a contemptuous nudge with the toe of his boot, and then turns and walks away, tapping the club against his thigh as if nothing has happened. You are left lying in the mud, your body a landscape of new and exquisite pain. The other prisoners have not stopped working. They saw what happened, but they keep their heads down, their movements steady. They know the rules. To interfere, to even show sympathy, is to invite the same treatment. Slowly, painfully, you push yourself up. Every movement sends a searing pain through your ribs. Your head throbs with a life of its own, and the world tilts and sways around you. You are dizzy, nauseous, and broken, but you get to your feet. You lean against the wall, taking deep, ragged breaths that feel like you are inhaling fire. You will not stay on the ground. You will not give him the satisfaction. You stumble back to your pile of stones. You bend, the movement and act of pure, agonizing willpower, and you pick one up. You carry it to the wall. You place it. You turn and go back for another. You continue to work. The pain is immense, a roaring sea that threatens to drown you. But you do not stop. Your defiance did not save you from the beating. It caused it. But as you work, the pain a constant, burning reminder of your transgression, you do not feel regret. You feel a strange, grim sense of pride. You look the monster in the eye. You were beaten, but you were not broken. And in the dark, brutal calculus of this place, that is a victory. The night after the beating is a long, dark ocean of pain. Sleep offers no escape, only short, feverish dreams from which you wake with a gasp. The agony in your ribs a fresh, sharp reminder of the jailer's cruelty. You lie in the straw, listening to the wind howling outside the prison walls. It is a mournful, angry sound, rising chorus of nature's fury. The storm you saw brewing on the wall has arrived. Throughout the night, it grows in intensity, the sound of the wind escalating from a howl to a shriek. Rain begins to lash against the high, unseen walls, a relentless, drumming assault. When morning comes, there is no change in the darkness of your cell, but the world outside is clearly in turmoil. The sounds are different. The usual distant morning routine of the prison is absent. Instead, there is only the roar of the wind and the thunderous, unceasing drumming of the rain. The jailer is late. The minutes stretch into an hour, and still no one comes. The hunger in your belly is a familiar ache, but a new, cold feeling of dread begins to creep in. The routine has been broken, and any break in a system this brutal and rigid can only mean chaos. Then you feel it, a cold wetness seeping through the straw beneath you. You push yourself up with a pained groan and touch the floor. It is covered in a thin film of water. Your heart lurches. The storm is not just outside, it is coming inside. The water is not from the familiar drip in the corner. It is seeping in from under the door, a slow, steady invasion. You crawl to the door and press your ear against it. You can hear shouting in the distance, faint and panicked, nearly swallowed by the roar of the storm. And you can hear the sound of moving water, a gurgling, rushing sound that is growing steadily louder. The water level rises with alarming speed. It is no longer a film on the floor, but a puddle that covers the entire cell. It is icy cold and filthy, carrying the stench of the prison's drains. It rises from your ankles to your shins. The straw you sleep on is now a floating, sodden mess. The body of the man in the corner, your first silent companion, is lifted by the rising water and begins to drift slowly, bumping gently against the walls of your shared tomb. Panic, a feeling you have kept at bay for so long, begins to claw its way up your throat. You are locked in a box that is slowly filling with water. You are going to drown. You scramble to the door, pounding on the thick wood with your fists, your voice a raw, desperate croak. Help! Let me out! Your shouts are useless, swallowed by the noise of the storm and the rising water. No one is coming. The guards have abandoned their posts, scrambling to save their own lives. You and the other prisoners have been left to die, forgotten in the lower levels of this stone fortress. The water is at your knees now, It's cold, a vicious, biting thing that saps the strength from your limbs. The pain in your broken ribs intensifies with every shivery spasm that racks your body. You search for a way to climb, to get above the water. But the walls are slick and smooth, offering no handholds. The cell is a perfect stone trap. The water rises to your waist. It is heavy, and moving through it is like wading through thick, cold mud. You are treading water now, your feet no longer touching the floor. Your energy is fading fast. The will to survive, which has burned so fiercely within you, is being extinguished by the icy, inexorable rise of the flood. You think of the old man. You think of the cruel young jailer. It seems a bitter irony that after all the human brutality, you will be killed by something as impersonal as the rain. The water is at your chest when a tremendous crack echoes from the corridor. It is followed by a splintering groan and then a roar as a wave of water, black and powerful, surges down the passage. The force of it hits your cell door like a battering ram. The wood shudders, the iron hinges groaning in protest. Another surge of water, and with a final, explosive crack, the door is torn from its frame. It is not a rescue. It is a more violent phase of the disaster. You are swept up in the torrent, a helpless piece of debris in a raging indoor river. You are washed out of your cell and into the chaotic, flooded corridor. The water is a churning maelstrom of debris, broken furniture, pieces of wood, and the pale, floating bodies of other prisoners. The corpse from your cell is swept along with you, its vacant eyes staring at the ceiling. You are pulled under, your lungs screaming for air. You swallow a mouthful of the foul, gritty water and gag, your body convulsing. You fight your way back to the surface, sputtering and coughing, your vision blurred. The corridor is a scene of pure, primal chaos. Men are screaming, clawing at each other, trying to find something, anything to hold on to. Your training in survival, the cold, hard lessons of the prison, takes over. You do not panic. You do not waste energy screaming. You scan the chaos, your eyes searching for a chance. A large wooden beam, probably a support from the ceiling, floats past you. You lunge for it, your fingers closing around the rough, splintered wood. You cling to it with all your remaining strength, your legs kicking to keep you afloat. The beam is your lifeboat, your island in this raging, artificial sea. It carries you down the corridor, bumping against walls and other debris, but it keeps your head above water. The current carries you into a larger chamber, perhaps the very room where you and the others were forced to turn the great wheel. The wheel itself is submerged, only its upper arc visible above the black water. The water level is higher here, but the current is slower. The chamber has become a large, dark lake, the surface littered with the wreckage of the prison. A few other survivors are clinging to similar pieces of debris, their pale faces like ghostly masks in the dim, gray light that filters down from a high, barred window. The shouting has subsided, replaced by the low moans of the injured and the eerie sound of water lapping against stone. You pull yourself further onto the beam, getting as much of your body out of the icy water as you can. Your broken ribs send a blinding flash of pain through you, and you cry out, your voice a thin, reedy sound in the vast, echoing space. You are exhausted, your limbs trembling with cold and exertion. But you are alive. You have survived the flood. You look around at the scene of devastation. The rigid, ordered world of the prison, with its guards, its routines, and its absolute authority, has been completely washed away. The system has broken down. The water has stopped rising. It seems to have found its level. You are safe for the moment, but you are still trapped. The high window is barred, far out of reach. The exits are all submerged. You are a castaway, adrift in the ruins of your own prison. The guards are gone. The rules are gone. The predictable rhythm of your life, however brutal, has been replaced by a terrifying uncertainty. You do not know what will happen next. Will the water recede? Will someone come to rescue you? Or will you be left to slowly starve, floating on a wooden beam in a stone tomb? You look at the other survivors, a handful of spectral figures scattered across the dark water. They are no longer your rivals or your fellow workers. They are simply other castaways, as lost and as hopeless as you are. The impersonal violence of the flood has erased the prison's petty hierarchies. You are all equal now, reduced to the most basic of human conditions. The struggle to stay alive for one more hour, one more day. As you float in the cold, silent aftermath of the disaster, you realize that your ordeal is far from over. A new, more unpredictable phase of your survival has just begun. The prison has been destroyed, but you are not free. You are simply in a different kind of cage, a larger and more chaotic one, and you are utterly, terrifyingly on your own. Time stretches into a long, gray ribbon of cold and quiet. You remain on your wooden beam, a solitary figure adrift in the vast, dark water of the ruined chamber. Hours pass. The moans of the injured have faded, replaced by an unnerving silence broken only by the gentle lapping of water against stone. The other survivors are motionless on their own pieces of wreckage, lost in their own private worlds of shock and exhaustion. There is no communication, no shared plan. The disaster has isolated each of you completely. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the water begins to recede. It is not a sudden draining, but a gradual, languid retreat. The top of the great wheel emerges, slick with black grime. Arches of submerged doorways become visible. Piles of rubble that were once islands are now connected by strips of muddy, exposed floor. The water leaves behind a thick, foul-smelling layer of silt on every surface, a greasy shroud over the bones of the dead prison. The air is thick with the stench of stagnant water and decay. Your beam eventually scrapes against a high mound of fallen masonry. The journey is over. With the last of your strength, you pull yourself off the wood and onto the relative stability of the rubble. The stone is cold and wet, but it is solid. It does not move beneath you. You crawl a little higher, seeking the driest, most sheltered spot you can find. You end up in a small alcove, a space created by a collapsed section of the ceiling, which offers some protection from the damp air. Here, you finally allow yourself to rest. You sit with your back against a massive block of stone and take stock of your existence. Your body is a map of pain. The agony in your ribs is a constant, sharp presence, making every breath a conscious effort. Your head throbs with a dull, persistent ache from the jailer's blow. Your hands and feet are a mess of cuts and bruises from the labor and the flood. You are shivering uncontrollably, the wet tunic clinging to you like a second skin, leaching what little warmth you have left. Hunger, your old and constant companion, is a hollow, burning void in your stomach. Physically, you are broken. You look out from your alcove at the devastation. The prison is gone. The rigid lines of cells and corridors have been replaced by a chaotic, alien landscape of wreckage. The system that defined your every moment, the bells, the work, the feedings, the punishments, has been utterly annihilated. The guards, the enforcers of that system, are either dead or have fled. The authority that held you in its iron grip has vanished, washed away by the indifferent power of the flood. You are no longer a cog in their machine. The machine itself has been shattered into 1,000 pieces. And yet you are not free. The high stone walls still stand, a grim, impassable circle around your new world. The barred window high above is a constant, mocking reminder of your captivity. You have simply traded one cage for another. You have exchanged the predictable, ordered brutality of the prison for the chaotic, uncertain brutality of a ruin. There are no more jailers to beat you, but there is no one to bring you food or water either. Survival is no longer a matter of enduring the system. It is a matter of enduring its absence. This is your final reckoning. You sit in the quiet ruin, and you let the events of the last 3 days wash over you. You remember the absolute darkness of the cell, a blackness so profound it felt like a physical weight. You remember the grim discovery of the corpse, and the cold realization of your own disposability. You remember the grueling, mindless labor on the great wheel, the burning in your muscles, and the slow erosion of your will. You have endured the very foundations of physical survival. You remember the arrival of the old man, the tense negotiation over a bowl of water, the fragile, unspoken bond forged on a chain. You remember his quiet dignity, his lessons in endurance, and the brutal, casual way his life was discarded. He taught you about the complex, dangerous world of social survival, a game you did not even know you were playing until you were in the middle of it. His absence now is a hollow ache, a reminder of the futility of connection in a world designed to break it. And you remember the young jailer's cruel face, the petty act of destroying your bread, the flash of rage in his eyes when you dared to meet his gaze. You feel the ghost of his club against your skull, the sharp, cracking pain in your ribs. You survived a direct conflict with the naked, ugly face of authority. You were punished for a moment of defiance, but you learned something vital about yourself. You learned that even when everything is taken from you, there is a small, hard kernel of your own humanity that you can refuse to surrender. You learned that you can be beaten, but you do not have to be broken. You survived. The word itself feels strange, hollow. Why you? Why not the old man who knew the rules so much better? Why not the others whose bodies now lie somewhere in the murky depths of the floodwater? There is no grand reason. It was not because you were stronger or smarter or more deserving. It was luck. The lucky chance of the door breaking. The lucky chance of a wooden beam floating by. Survival, you realize, is not a reward for virtue. It is a series of brutal accidents. The true lesson of these 3 days is something much simpler. It is the lesson of endurance. It is the grim, animalistic will to simply keep breathing. It is the act of putting one foot in front of the other on the great wheel, of lifting one more stone, of holding onto a wooden beam in a raging current. It is the choice made in every single moment to not give up. It is not a noble or heroic choice. It is a stubborn, ugly, and deeply primal one. It is the simple, bloody-minded refusal to die. A single weak ray of sunlight breaks through the clouds and lances down through the high, barred window. It illuminates a patch of the far wall, turning the damp, grimy stone to a momentary, beautiful gold. It is not a sign of hope. It is not a promise of rescue. It is just a thing that is happening, a small, indifferent event in a world that does not care whether you live or die. And you find a strange comfort in that. Your survival is your own. You do not owe it to a god or a king or a jailer. You owe it only to the stubborn, beating muscle in your chest. You need to move. The sunbeam reminds you that a new day is beginning. The past is a ruin, but the future is a series of immediate practical problems. You need clean water. You need food. You need shelter from the coming night. Your reckoning is over. It is time to get back to the business of living. Slowly, painfully, you push yourself to your feet. You look out over the wreckage of your prison, this new, wild kingdom of which you are a reluctant citizen. The path forward is unknown, filled with 1,000 new dangers. But as you take your first unsteady step into the ruins, you know one thing with absolute certainty. You will endure. The memory of places like the one you endured echoes faintly through history. These were not prisons in our sense of the word. They were oubliettes, from the French word to forget. They were human cellars, built to erase people from the world. The story of what happened inside them is not found in official records or the proclamations of kings. It is written in the scratches on the stone, in the bones found buried beneath the floors, and in the quiet, desperate will of those who were thrown into the darkness and simply refused to disappear. Their legacy is a stark reminder of what human beings are capable of, both in cruelty and in resilience. The story we have walked through is not just an account of medieval hardship. It is a journey into the heart of endurance itself. It is a story about the profound, unbreakable instinct to survive. It speaks to the part of us that finds a way to keep going, even when faced with absolute hopelessness. The fight for survival was not in grand gestures, but in the smallest acts. The taste of clean water, the warmth of a stale crust of bread, the decision to hold a tormentor's gaze, the will to take one more breath. This quiet, stubborn spark of life is a thread that connects us all, across the centuries, to the forgotten souls who lived through unimaginable darkness. And so we leave you there, a lone figure in the ruins of a world that tried to break you. A single ray of sunlight cuts through the gloom, illuminating the dust that hangs in the air. It promises nothing. It offers no easy escape. It is simply a light, a physical fact in a world that has been stripped of all illusion. You have been through the fire and the flood, and you are still standing. You have reckoned with the depths of what a person can endure. And in the profound silence of the ruin, you have found the simple, unshakable truth of your own existence. You are a survivor.